We have with us today Matt Temby. He's the owner and founder of Vault Health and Fitness in downtown Perrysburg. It is a health and fitness club. He started it in 2018. And in my opinion, I've been going to various health clubs over the last 30 years. It's the best fitness gym that I've ever been to. And Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about Vault?
Yeah, well, Chuck, thanks for the kind words. So Vault's Health and Fitness is a coaching business. Now, when somebody finds us, they typically are searching for, a personal trainer in Perrysburg or in Northwest Ohio or a gym near me. And so, yes, our building is a gym, but we provide services we always start with a consultation. So we have the opportunity to get to know somebody, understand who they are as a person, understand what it is that they're seeking for. Usually somebody's coming to us to help them solve a problem. And then from there, we guide them into personal training. And then they have the option of continuing with personal training, going into group training, small group training, so some specialty programming. And then we can also help them with nutrition coaching as well.
And why don't you talk about your location and the other individual things you do for people?
Yeah, so we're located right in the heart of downtown Perrysburg. We're on 2nd Street, about maybe 100 feet from the corner of Louisiana and 2nd Street. So when you're at the farmers market, we have a great spot to see all the action, and we do some outdoor sessions on Thursdays during the summer when weather permits. And then everybody has different goals, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But when you enter the lobby of our building, it says unlock your better. And that's going to be different for everybody, because some people have a fat loss goal. They have a goal of gaining more energy. So, a professional like yourself or myself, a lot of professionals kind of hit the wall after lunchtime, and they're seeking more energy to continue to be productive and serve the people in their businesses better. So they're seeking more energy. They want to build muscle. They're getting ready for a vacation or some special family event. And so that better is very subjective to the individual. But through the different options that we have and services, we're able to design a program that works for everybody. So Chuck, I'll use you for example. You were somebody that was already working out 7 days a week. And it's something that you do for stress relief and just to stay healthy so that you can be the best business owner and attorney that you can be and serve the people that you've served for a long time. But you went through personal training when you first got started. You also did nutrition coaching with us, and you do group training with us 5 mornings a week. And your goals are different than other people's goals that are in the same group setting than you. We do something called a goal review. So we sit down with each member, or every member has the opportunity to sit down with a coach every 90 days. We do a body composition scan, so we can see how you're doing with your body fat progression, your muscle mass. And then we also have those things built into our group programming so that you can track your progress, both from a strength perspective and then a cardiovascular output and endurance perspective. So as our business has evolved and we've gotten better individually, we've also gotten better as a team so we can better serve our clients.
So Matt, one thing I think that's interesting about you is your story. You're really young and you're an entrepreneur. Why don't you tell the listeners about your background, where you went to high school, and how you got from there to here?
Yeah. So something that is very important to me is I'm from an immigrant family from Italy. My mom is one of 12 children, and family means the world to me. And I was born and raised in a small town in Michigan, Howell, Michigan. I started playing. I played sports starting at 4 years old. When I was in high school, I started playing football for the first time. And after my first season, I remember hearing my coach tell my mom that I was a good athlete, but I couldn't play because I was too small, and he was afraid that I'd get hurt. And so the next day, I wandered very anxiously into our high school weight room that had like this rusty sliding fence. And I remember being very intimidated, but that was the first time I ever strength trained. And I was 13, and I'll be turning 34 this year. And so for the last 21 years, fitness has been a really important part of my life. So I ended up following high school. I played football in college at a small Division III school up in Michigan called Elma College, and my love for fitness continued to grow during that time. Now, during that season of my life, I was making a lot of bad decisions and was constantly in trouble with the university, with law enforcement, and so I was very immature, and I found my way into bodybuilding after football ended for me, and that was kind of my competitive outlet, and I did that for 7 years. But from a career perspective, I bounced around. I was searching for a good fit, and again, at that point in my life, alcohol had a really strong grip on basically everything I did. So I worked as a financial advisor for a year, and that was a really bad fit for me. And then I went to JP Morgan Chase, and I was there for maybe 3 months. And I was fortunate to have an opportunity to work for Target after that. And so I started in like an assistant manager role, and I did that, and then had the opportunity to take on a larger role. And then within 2.5 years, I was running stores for Target, and I was in Lansing, Michigan at the time. And Target asked me to relocate to Toledo, and so I Googled, safe places to live in Toledo. From Michigan, I don't have much experience in Ohio, and so Toledo doesn't have this great reputation. And so I found Perrysburg through that Google search, and Perrysburg has become home. I've been here for 8 years and have fallen in love really with Northwest Ohio in general. I've been amazed by the kindness and generosity of the people in the area. And this is where I will raise my family. And I'm thankful for that opportunity. So during my time at Target, in 2015, two pivotal things happened in my life. The first was I got sober on October 31st, 2015 was the last time I drank. And then a couple weeks later, I was invited back to church, and that planted the seed in my heart to give my heart back to Jesus. I was raised in a Christian home, but hadn't been active in my faith or following my faith for a long time. And so that led to restlessness in my career. I love building teams. I love leading community. It's a gift that I have that I'm thankful for. But I realized at that moment of my life that I needed to make a greater impact on people's lives. And I wanted to do that by sharing what I had discovered in myself with health and fitness. I wanted to share that with other people. So in 2016, I started coaching people online while I was still working for Target. And so that was a cool experience, but I wasn't pulling the correct levers to grow that business to eventually replace my career with Target. And as time went on, I became more restless in my role, and I really wanted to be in health and fitness full time. So I had the opportunity to work with First Form. They're a supplement company in St. Louis. And after a few different opportunities of interviewing with them and having a coaching role presented to me, I just realized that it wasn't the right opportunity and that I needed to find a different vehicle to bring my dream to life. And there was a franchise that the founder actually went to high school with me, and that franchise is called TrueFit. And it's based out of Michigan. At one point, they had 25 locations, and I opened the first out-of-state location for TrueFit as TrueFit Perrysburg, which is now Vault Health and Fitness. So that was how I got into health and fitness full-time. And we opened the gym in 2018, September of 2018. Again, I was still running stores for Target. And then I also bought a gym that was going through a bankruptcy transaction down in Cincinnati. And so that gym is now branded as Delhi Fitness Club. So we're in the township of Delhi in Cincinnati. And so I continued to stay at Target until June of 2019. I did that strategically so that both businesses could be debt-free, and I wouldn't have to make hard financial decisions for either business. And I could really just focus on how do we best serve our people and do that without financial strain. So eventually, we'll cut it there, and I'll tell you how we got to Vault whenever you feel that's appropriate.
So it's interesting. You really didn't have the thought to become an entrepreneur originally. It came after you were at Target.
Yeah, and Target has a great process and a great system for developing people and giving people the opportunity to lead others. And I had some incredible mentors, both in store when I was in an assistant role and out of store, whether that was a district leader or a group leader or even a regional leader, people that truly took interest in your success and in your growth as a person. And obviously that can lead to success and growth as a professional. And so that really prepared me, running a large business and leading large teams prepared me to run a small business. Granted, it was a lot harder. Running gyms are a lot harder than I thought they would be. But that's the journey. Just like you love what you do with building your teams in law, I love that with health and fitness.
So, how scary was it to open your first business?
At the time, it wasn't horribly intimidating because I had Target backing that dream. I had my corporate salary. It was very scary walking away when I gave Target about a month's notice. They knew I was leaving at some point. We just didn't know when. And I was very good to Target, and Target was very good to me. So we already had our backfill. She was promoted. She was a great leader on our team. And then she stepped up and replaced me in the store that I was in, which was in Holland. But then it was different because that was in summer of 2019. I was traveling to Cincinnati 2 days a week at the time to go to my other gym, and I no longer had a consistent paycheck. And it was like you eat what you kill, more or less. And then I assumed that 2020 would be a great year and that my stress would go down. And obviously, none of us knew that that COVID was right around the corner, and that posed a huge challenge for gyms specifically, since we're an in-person business, and gyms were forced to close in the spring of 2020.
So let's talk about when you originally started. I think a lot of businesses have the issue of how do you get clients?
Yeah. So TrueFit had a 6-week challenge that we would run. And so new locations would do that for free. And so when we ran that, so keep in mind, I'm at a Target store for 60 plus hours a week. And then I had this other business down in Cincinnati. And so I was always on the go, but in my free time, I was at Vault. We'll just refer to it as that, since that's what it is now. And so we ran this 6-week challenge, and we had over 120 people show up to the kickoff. I think it was on like a Monday night, and the line was literally out the door. I was completely overwhelmed. My team was completely overwhelmed. And so that was, we converted, I don't know, a very low percentage, but maybe 30 people. And TrueFit does a good job of promoting for grand opening. Granted, if I could do it again, I wouldn't do it the same way, but we opened probably with 30 members that signed up on the first day. And so we had a decent base where we were about profitable. But I didn't have a good system for financial stability. And so as our revenue grew, because I wasn't paying myself, our expenses always grew in proportion to what our revenue was. And so we were, even as we grew up to 200 plus members prior to COVID, there was still no profit. I still wasn't paying myself. And so from that perspective, it was very hard. And I needed guidance to teach me how to do those things and really build those systems. Coming from Target, from a Fortune 50 company where there's a best practice literally for everything in the business, you just execute the best practice. And when you have your own business, the best practice comes from you. And so you haven't taken the time to take what's in your mind and put it on paper and teach your team, there is no best practice. And that can lead to a world where you're always spinning your wheels, and it leads to burnout, which is, we see it a lot in the health and fitness field, especially in this role that I'm in with. Eventually I sought out mentorship through Two Brain Mentorship, or Two Brain Business, which is a mentorship practice. They're based out of Canada, and they're worldwide. And so I do sales. I'm in a sales role for them now, in addition to what I do with my gyms. And so I talk to gym owners across the globe every day that are struggling just to keep their doors open, which is really sad to see, because they provide an important service within their community to help people have a better quality of life. And oftentimes the people behind the scenes are struggling just to make by or to get by, and they're struggling with burnout, they're struggling with depression, yet they put on this happy face to encourage others to build these new habits in their life, to have a better quality of life. Meanwhile, they're struggling. So that was hard because I went through that season. I lived that life for several years until I sought out mentorship to help me change.
So talk about COVID and being a gym owner. I mean, it's difficult enough starting a new business, but COVID seems like just like an extra horrible thing that, that affected you probably more than most people.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, as a business owner, that there was a lot of changes that you had to make. As a gym owner, again, we see people, what I share with people is I will see you more than you see your primary care physician, your dentist, your chiropractor, your massage therapist, all combined in a month. We will see you by far more. And so we're a healthcare provider, and we do that through coaching. And so suddenly we weren't seeing our people. And so Vault is built so strongly around relationships and around community. We had to pivot quickly to maintain that communication, maintain those relationships with our members. And so we quickly pivoted to online, which I think a lot of gyms did, but some gyms did it better than others by doing the things that already made you special. So we would do Saturday hangout sessions through Zoom. There was I think it's called like Jackbox. And so that was like a virtual game that I bought, and you could have like unlimited users playing the same game. So we did a few weekends of that. We developed some challenges that we would do that were highly revolving around social media and posting within both our individual private Facebook group for our community, as well as, on somebody's Instagram or on their Facebook or their TikTok. And so those are ways that we continued to stay in touch. And then we also led small group meetups. So coaches would have groups of members that were assigned to them, and then they would jump on a small group Zoom with, I think it was like around 5 to 8 people, and you would just check in on those people, and you would have an open discussion of what was going well, what they were struggling with, and then we'd give them, an action step to take over the next week before we had our next meetup. So those are things that we did at Vault. Now at my other gym in Cincinnati, that's a pay for access gym. So think of a Planet Fitness where there's a lot of equipment and you walk in and it's open 24/7. And yeah, there is some personal training available there. But mainly people pay you for the access to the equipment. That was really challenging because we had bought out a couple of our partners. I do have partners in that gym. I have one partner. So we had bought out a couple of partners, and we had literally written the check to get them out of the business the week before we were forced to close. And our building had been sold. And so we were going through construction to build out a new space because we had to be out by September. We reopened at the end of June down in Cincinnati, and then we closed again in September. We had a lot of construction delays due to COVID. And so our gym was closed from September until Christmas of 2020 because we didn't have a space to go. Our building was torn down. They're building a new development in where our building used to be in Cincinnati. And so that was very hard because for 6 months we had no revenue. And there was, some tough moments where we weren't sure if we were going to make it. But fortunately, that business has really turned the corner, and we're doing really well now.
So a couple of, I think, competitive advantages that your gym has. You have the goal setting and the individual programs, but I think that something that I find unique is you can have very serious athletes, and you could have somebody like me or people in their 20s or 30s. You basically have a whole bunch of different dimensions of types of people, and they all seem very comfortable with each other.
It starts with the desire to have relationships. I don't think that that's any different really from most businesses. If you genuinely care about somebody and you take the approach of helping that person, and everybody's getting the same high level of service, I think that puts everybody at a state of comfort and ease. And to your point, in a group setting, Typically, the youngest member that we'll see in a group setting is somebody that's either in their master's program or their PhD program, and we have members in their 70s, and we have everybody in between sharing a group session together. We have I'm really proud of our team because we've evolved over the last really 9 months in how we program our group. And so we've given ownership of that to specific coaches that's really within their wheelhouse. And so it is a unique balance of balancing, you have somebody that just got done with, we call our intro to personal training. It's a curriculum based personal training course of 5 one-on-one sessions where we can make sure that you're training safely, that you're training efficiently so that you're being productive in that time that you have, and that we're building a relationship of trust with that person. And then when they transition into group, they could be next to somebody like you who trains with us, 5 mornings a week. You've been with us for about a year, and you've been taking care of your fitness and prioritizing your fitness for a long time. That can be really intimidating to somebody, but because we're a coaching business and we have built a foundation of a relationship with that individual in a one-on-one setting, we can continue to connect with them in a group setting and make sure that they're getting what they need. We have built-in checkpoints at 30 days, 60 days, and then we have those goal reviews every 90 days. We also reach out to members when we don't see them. If we haven't seen you in the last week, you're getting a text or a phone call to make sure that we know what's going on in your life. Because ultimately, as coaches, we are coaching habit change that leads to a better quality of life. And if we don't have a system for that, most people cannot be successful with that on their own. And that's really why we exist, to provide that structure and that guidance and that coaching to help people get to where they want to be.
Right. I really like the group training just because it forces me to do what I need to do. And if I train on my own, I don't think that I work nearly as hard. And it's also very helpful to have the other people. A lot of times I learn how to do the different exercises by watching the other people. So it's really a very family and team-oriented approach, which I think is different than most gyms.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I like being a member just as much as I enjoy owning the business.
So let's talk about hours. I'm in your morning time slot, but you have a lot of people like later in the evening, right? So talk about your hours and the different, times of classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, so group training starts at 5:30 in the morning. We do a 5:30, a 6:30, and a 9:30 a.m. And then we do a 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. We recently added 5 minutes to our sessions, from 45 minutes to 50 minutes. And then personal training is done anytime between 7:20 a.m. and we start our personal training sessions as late as 7:30 p.m. And we do it all times in between. So there really isn't a reason that somebody, if we were a good fit for somebody and they believed that we had the right coaches and the right resources to lead them to their goals, scheduling should not be a challenge for them.
Maybe mention a little bit about your individual coaches. I mean, they're all very personable and very knowledgeable, and they're very helpful to people that aren't professional athletes.
Yeah. So our head coach, Erin Higgins, she was a high school and college athlete. She rode crew at Anthony Wayne and at Miami of Ohio. She got into competitive physique competitions after college. And she was just an avid gym goer. She signed up as a member at the gym on our first day and was always very involved in the community. We were looking for more coaches in the spring of 2019, and she joined our team. She has her master's degree in therapy, and so she did counseling for children that had gone through loss or traumatic experiences. And she eventually transitioned into working for us full time, and she's continued to grow and take on more roles and responsibilities. So Erin does a lot of our personal training, and she was doing a large majority of our group, and now she's kind of scaling out of that role to take on more responsibilities. We have Stephanie Funkhauser. She was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, but she's a marathon runner. She ran the Boston Marathon, which was a bucket list item for her last year. So we were really proud of her for that. She's a certified nutrition coach, and she has a home gym, actually a pretty large home gym. They call that F5, and it's for friends and family of her and her husband, and so they have a small community that they've built in their home as well. But she's one of the most detail-oriented people I know. She's also one of the kindest, most generous people I know. So it's been great to have her on the team. We have Austin. Austin joined our team. Austin Van Buskirk. So he joined our team last summer. He is getting his master's degree in strength and conditioning. And he went to Bowling Green State University and has his undergrad through them in exercise health science. And he loves coaching. That's what his career goal is. And he loves coaching youth. And so as we talk about where we're heading in the future, Austin has a big role in that. We would love to see him lead our youth program. He's already doing personal training with the youth that we now serve, but eventually we'll transition into a group setting for youth. And so we have really exciting plans there. And then Adam Dunkel is our other coach. So Adam just joined our team less than a month ago. He is a registered dietitian. He got his undergrad and his master's degree from Kent State University. And he also does personal training, just like Austin and Stephanie and Erin. And then he's getting trained on doing group training as well. Now, having Adam on the team allows us to go a little bit deeper with our nutrition coaching. We do have one other coach who I'll mention here momentarily, but as certified nutrition coaches, there are certain things that we cannot help with. So somebody that's struggled with an eating disorder, somebody that has a medical diagnosis like a type 1 or type 2 diabetes, they've struggled with or they've been diagnosed with an issue with their thyroid. Those are things that we cannot help with. But as a registered dietitian, Adam is able to provide care to those people. And his passion is really being proactive. So he's done a lot of counseling in a clinical setting or a rehabilitation setting where somebody has had a heart attack, and now based on their insurance, they have to see a registered dietitian to continue to get their insurance to contribute to their care. And a lot of those people they're not in a mental place where they want to make changes. And so being in a gym where somebody is investing in improving their health and fitness, and he gets to be on the proactive side. So he's really excited for that. And then our last coach is Kelly Whitmer. She is a certified nutrition coach as well. She doesn't do any group or personal training. But Kelly's been on our team just over a year and just cares so much about people and always goes the extra mile to make sure that people are comfortable and that they're welcomed, and that they're getting a great experience and that they're changing their habits. And Kelly's background, she comes from a family that has struggled with their health, and she struggled with her health many years ago, following her pregnancies with her two sons. And so really through trial and error, that's how she developed this passion for nutrition. And she worked at a large Toledo corporation in HR, and she was a member. She and her husband were members at the gym, and she wasn't happy. She wasn't fulfilled in her role, and she wanted to help people with their health through nutrition. And we were looking for somebody else to bring onto our team to start to grow that nutrition program outside of me delivering the majority of nutrition coaching. And she's been a huge asset to our team.
And they're all excellent. Matt, could you talk about Vault's vision and the new facility?
Yeah. So I look at I look at Benchmark Restaurant. They're located in Levis Commons as, and they've only been opened a year. They opened a year prior to us, but they have built such a strong following. When you go to Benchmark, two things are universally true. You know that you're going to have outstanding service, and that you will feel proud to bring your friends and family members to their establishment to celebrate a milestone or for a date night, or just to go out and have fun with friends. You know that the service will be exceptional, and you know that the food will blow you away every time. And I look at Benchmark and what they're building, what the owners, Jeff and Megan, have built, both with their team of how they take care of their people, and what their vision is. So they're opening a new restaurant, Claude's Prime Seafood, right next to Benchmark. And they recently purchased Jed's, and that is being rebranded and will reopen here in the next couple of weeks as Harbortown Eats. But I look at their business as really a foundation in Perrysburg that's going to be around for decades, and that people will talk about fondly, and they have this affinity to the brand. And that's really what we want to build with Vault. It's a high-end experience. You know that you're always going to be celebrated, welcomed, and supported every time you come in the doors, and that the service will always go far above and beyond your wildest expectations. That's what our expectations are internally. It's always going to be a clean facility. You're always going to have kind, positive people around you in the group. Our culture doesn't allow somebody to be negative and to be toxic. It's really a self regulating community in that regard. Somebody that has that in their personality probably won't feel comfortable in our community, because it's full of kind, positive people that are very generous in so many aspects of their life. So that's really our foundation. And again, with the vision of creating a better quality of life for people through coaching and health and fitness. So we had the opportunity to purchase a building in Perrysburg. Again, right now we're located in downtown. This new building is located on Roachton Road, directly across from the entrance to Levis Commons, where Owens, Illinois, corporate private entrance. I don't know if it's a private entrance, but their corporate entrance is right across from our new building. And we're right next to the high school. We're right next to Westside Montessori is, maybe a 16th of a mile down the road. And then Hall Prairie is about an 1/8 of a mile down the road. There's a lot of neighborhoods that are near our new location. So we're excited about visibility. We're excited to be closer to where the center of our town is growing to. As Perrysburg continues to grow, that's where the growth is happening, down the Route 25 corridor, and then filling in on Roachton and really on 5 Point Road as well. So the reason that we wanted better visibility, and then we wanted more space. And so I would love to share what these programs will look like. Right now, our primary person that we serve, the person that we see the most of, is a female between 30 and 40 years old who lives in Perrysburg. She works part-time or full-time, and she has children. And so we will see her when she's going to Westside Montessori to pick up or drop off her kids. She might live on Roachton Road, or her kids might go to Hall Prairie or to the high school. So we'll see that individual more often. But then we want to make sure that we're impacting the core of her family. So how do we help her husband with his health and fitness goals? How do we help her children with what they want to accomplish with their fitness? Typically, that's usually sports related, but it could be health related as well. And so we want to have programs that can serve the entire family. So we will be launching our youth program in our current facility this spring, near the end of the school year. So we're excited to open that up. That will be a part-time program due to our space constraints. But in the new building, we will have that as a full-time program after school, where we have different age groups that will be training together, in addition to the private training that we do with youth. So that's the first edition. The second edition, and Chuck, you've been in Northwest Ohio for, I believe, the majority of your life, so you'll understand this. Oftentimes, and this was a new dynamic for me when I moved to Perrysburg in 2014, there's a lot of people that graduate from high school, they go away for college, they settle down in Columbus or the Cleveland area, or maybe out of state, but then they miss Northwest Ohio. They miss the small town community, and they miss the kindness of people. So they move back. And a lot of times their family is still in the area. And so that demographic, that 30 to 40-year-old female, a lot of times her parents live in Northwest Ohio, and they might be in their 50s, their 60s, or their 70s. And that is an underserved population in Northwest Ohio in terms of health and fitness specifically. And so we are developing a senior training program, and that will be something that's offered for a specific age group. Somebody like yourself who's in their 60s, you have always prioritized your health and fitness. And so you fit well into our open group sessions. But somebody that hasn't had the same lifestyle and the same habits as you would probably not necessarily be comfortable with that in your age range. And so they might be more comfortable with something that has peers in the same age range with the same ability levels. So we're going to develop that so that is something that is available to the older demographic in Northwest Ohio and really Perrysburg specifically. The third thing that we're adding is yoga. So we will have a yoga studio that will actually have two different yoga rooms. So we'll have a hot yoga studio, and then we'll have a regular yoga studio that has different yoga practices. You think about the Toledo market, there's a lot of really great yoga studios in Toledo. A lot of our training in group, we have functional training and we have strength training that leads to muscle building, which also often leads to tightness and losing mobility if you're not conscious and actively working on those things. And so yoga will be a really good complement to the members of our community currently, and then people that just love yoga or want to get into yoga, whether that's for stress relief, whether that's for meditation, or whether that's their preferred form of exercise. The last thing that we're probably most excited about is having a universally accessible gym for adaptive athletes. And so that's something that doesn't exist really in Northwest Ohio, but it certainly doesn't exist in Perrysburg. So if you think about somebody that has an injury that has created a temporary disability, or somebody that has a permanent disability, there aren't facilities that are specifically geared for them that make them feel welcomed and part of the whole. And so that is something that's really important to us in our design phase. And once we get into construction, we'll be bringing that to life. So we're excited about that as really like the fourth edition where we can continue to better serve people in our community.
Thank you very much, Matt. I enjoyed hearing the Vault story, and if I was writing you a testimonial, I would give you an absolute 5 stars, and I highly recommend Vault. I really recommend that people try it out. If you really want to get some individual attention, meet a bunch of nice people, and improve your physical fitness, I give 5 stars to Vault. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Chuck. I appreciate being on your platform and sharing your community. And thank you so much for your kind words and for being part of our community and welcoming us into your life.
Thank you.